Up on Mountain News this morning, the Commonwealth continues to work towards decreasing domestic violence in Kentucky. And some people want more resources made available to mothers fighting addiction.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Madison Carmouche, and happy Friday, everyone. Let's send it over to meteorologist Tim Jawbridge for a look at your forecast.
TGIF, that's for sure. There's the finish line off in the distance. We got to get there, right? Got to get through some areas of fog to start us off on this TGIF. Not bad temperature-wise. 61 outside our door here at WYMT, and visibilities again drop as you make your way toward Harlan and through the Cumberland Valley, so keep that in mind as we make our way through the next couple of hours. Temperature-wise, not bad, mainly in the 60s. We're still at 70 in Jackson and Irvin and back at Monticello. So needless to say, a little bit warmer than it was 24 hours ago. Satellite radar composite looking to the north and west with some cloud cover issues as they continue to track up basically north in the Mountain Parkway up towards 64. High pressure pretty much right on top of us, and that means another avenue with a day filled with sunshine before we have to introduce the slightest risk of a shower heading through this weekend. On our way up to 90 this afternoon. More about the weekend forecast in a few moments. Madison?
All right, Tim, thank you. Domestic violence advocates are wondering what can still be done to support victims. WYMT's RJ Johnson shares how the 2023 Domestic Violence Data Report is helping guide them.
For the second time since its inception, the Kentucky Justice and Public Safety Cabinet has released its Domestic Violence Data Report.
This has just been released. This is the second year it's been released, so we're still taking some time to sort of parse through the data as a whole to figure out what's going on. We do know that domestic violence is still very, very present within our communities and across the state.
LKLP Safe House Program Director Aline Rose says the data shows they are still concerned for victims in the community. In 2023, there were more than 41,000 JC3 reports filed in Kentucky. Rose says in 2022, officials included the reports with all of family violence, including child abuse.
So we asked that we make a specific sort of change to those reports that law enforcement do so that we could better parse through the data that we have. And that change was actually incorporated in the 2023 data.
She says Kentucky State Police have worked alongside them to deliver emergency protective orders.
The law enforcement has really been the eyes and ears of shelters coming forward and saying, hey, I am seeing this now.
Rose says there are a lot of things people in the community can do to help and support victims.
But I will say that we are asking everyone to be really positive bystanders and come out to your coworkers, to your neighbors, to your friends and say, hey, you know what, I noticed that your partner may be a little controlling or you might be a little uncomfortable. That helps our community and that helps those victims realize, oh, I do have an outlet for this. I can get away. It doesn't always have to be that way.
As reaching out for help or protection might be scary.
There is no such thing as a person with one problem. Domestic violence is a compounding issue. Oftentimes we're dealing with trauma, we're dealing with mental health and anxiety, but we also can be dealing with substance dependency and substance misuse. That does not disqualify you from services here at the Domestic Violence Shelter, nor does that okay any of the violence that you may be experiencing with a partner.
In Perry County, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Rose says while victims might feel alone, their role is to support them along the way. The shelter is a part of a Zero V, the statewide coalition with 15 regional domestic violence programs. For more information, you can find this story on our website. Advocates are talking about helping expectant mothers in addiction. Last month, police launched a search after 8-month-old Maya Rudd was reported missing. She was found dead in her home. They say when she was born, meth was found in her umbilical cord. Now leaders are talking about resources available for mothers in addiction. Nicholas Chirinos is with a family addiction recovery center in Bowling Green. He says there is a lack of resources.
What we want to do is take care of our neighbor. That's what we're supposed to be doing, not just because we're a treatment organization, but because we're human beings. We should be looking out for those that are in need, especially our priority one population, which is our pregnant population.
The National Center on Substance Abuse and Child Welfare's website offers resources for pregnant women facing substance use disorders. Starting next week, Kentucky's Move Over law will change. The Slow Down Move Over law requires drivers to slow down or change lanes when vehicles are on the side of the road. Currently, the law protects law enforcement, highway crews, tow truck operators, and other roadside workers. But starting Monday, it will include all strained motorists. AAA has been working for this to get into law for years.
It's something that should be, the logical, smart thing to do, but it's important to build the awareness about it.
Weaver Hawkins says this new law will reduce any confusion drivers have when it comes to knowing when to move over and will ensure drivers can get to their destinations safely. The Supreme Court overturned the 1984 Chevron decision just last month. Now we're getting reaction from Kentucky lawmakers. The ruling curtails the government regulating powers around the environment, public health, and workplace safety. The Chevron decision instructed lower courts to defer to federal agencies when laws are not crystal clear. Senator Rand Paul says Kentucky business owners told him that these regulations were affecting their businesses, but making changes before was out of his hands.
I was surprised by this. I've been here 2 terms, and to this date, we still haven't voted on any specific regulations on business, and yet hundreds of regulations have been written that throttle business activity in our country.
President Biden has defended the law, warning the decision could destabilize the legal system. The ruling doesn't call into question prior cases that relied on the doctrine. The Natural Resource Conservation Service handed out the first home buyout checks in Perry County on Thursday. More than 500 applicants will receive buyout checks from the program, which was created following the July 2022 flood in eastern Kentucky. Ben Wilder with the Perry County Fiscal Court says hearing people's stories makes the hard work worthwhile.
In RCS, we're buying 10 or 12 in the next week, and then we'll have another 80 plus to work on with that. So plenty of work, just continuing to try to help people move on and have some home and stability.
Wilder adds the FEMA buyout program is nearly done with the payout process. Thanks for getting your day started with us here on Mountain News this morning. When we return, for the first time since the pandemic, prices seem to be decreasing.
And the weekend right now looks like it'll be a carbon copy of today. What does today have in store? We'll let you know. Your First Alert 7-day forecast is coming up right after this.